morning. My name is Dr. John McLaughlin. I am the director of the Criminal Justice Academy in Avon Park, Florida. So if you want to be in law enforcement in Florida, come see me. I did 26 years in Miami-Dade Police Department, and it's a small town, South Florida, but not much going on there.
My name is Dr. Grace Telesco. I spent 20 years in the NYPD and retired at the rank of lieutenant, was a first responder at Ground Zero, and currently now the director of the School of Criminal Justice, an associate professor at Southeastern University, where Alpha Phi Sigma headquarters is located.
Good morning, everyone. Christopher Robley. I actually studied with Dr. T, and she is the best. So Nova, for all of you out there, that's the place to be, seriously. And that's not, I wasn't even paid for that plug. I did 20 years with New Hampshire State Police. About 5 years of that was undercover work. So really excited for all those that want to know a little bit more about how to come through that process. And I'm thankful for all of you that actually want to follow your heart and look to make this place a little bit better.
All right. Are we using this one? Speak into it. See if we can hear you. Can anybody hear me?
No.
Back at the podium. All right. So just to tell you a little bit more about myself. One second.
It wasn't on.
Um,
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
You still want to do that? Oh, are you okay with that? So I'll make this quick because I prefer to speak with everybody, not at everybody. And I'd love to hear your questions on what you want to hear on how to get into law enforcement. But when I was in your shoes, first coming into my career, we all grow up differently, but we have a goal, right, going into the rest of our lives. And growing up, my first experiences were I had some family members struggling with addiction. So led me to wanting to go into a life where I could try and help people and stop this from happening, right? So I pick my major in college as criminal justice, and originally I think I'm going into a law enforcement career where I'm going to fight just drug investigations. I picked Temple University. There's no better college to go to, in my opinion. Nothing against any other college, but Temple University is the best. And 2 weeks into my freshman year is when September 11th happened, which changed a lot for me. We all have our different experiences, but immediately I started focusing on federal law enforcement because that is where I could fight terrorism. Became a focus. And at that time, you didn't walk around with the internet in your hand like you all do now with your phones. That's back when you had to dial up to the internet, right? So it wasn't as easy for us to know as much. The only federal agency I knew about back then was FBI. But one great thing that Temple University had was all of the internships available, which is huge, as you probably are learning right now. And the only available internship for federal agencies in Philadelphia at the time was offered through HSI. So I applied for it, and that's how I learned about this agency. Luckily enough for myself, I got the internship. It was very competitive at the time, but I did get it. And I learned so much through that internship. It sold me on HSI as the agency. And so obviously I stuck with it in my career. I was hired very shortly after graduation. And not only did I stay with it, but I took that near and dear to my heart. And as a collateral assignment with my agency, I now do the student volunteer program, and I'm also part of the recruitment team. So I speak at a lot of the universities within the Philadelphia area, and as soon as I found out about this happening here, I jumped right on it because I love to be a part of it. So, with all that said, to get The only way to do this is to become very familiar with usajobs.gov. Does everybody already know this?
Yes.
Okay. So do we already have our profile set up on usajobs.gov? All right. So the one thing I was going to say is, you know that you're probably only eligible for a GS5 coming on board for most students, except for all of you sitting here, because you have that outstanding scholar sitting on your plate, which makes you eligible for a GS7. Right? Okay. So as you're applying for these open announcements, which you should be checking usajobs.gov weekly for these, you should be looking at the 5 and the 7s to apply for, because you're eligible for both. In some rare occasions, you potentially are eligible for a 9. Usually that's only if you have your master's, but keep an eye out as well. And for the pay scale, does everybody understand how you can see that for the area that you live at, what the pay scale is for you, for the GS or GL pay scale on the OPM site? No? Okay. You go on the OPM site and you look up for the chart, for the pay scale, just look up the city that you live in, and it will show you what that pay is exactly in your area. The other really great thing is, for a federal agent, for law enforcement, whatever it says, add 25% to that for a special agent position, because that's called LEAP, Law Enforcement Availability Pay, which is overtime pay, which is also part of your salary. If you didn't know that. Did anybody know that? Let's shake our head. No? Okay. I'll explain that more. All right. So you go on usajobs.gov. You see an open announcement that you apply for. And let's say you make it through that. The next phase of that would be phase 1, which is a test. It's an online test that you would take. The online test is a writing sample that you would have to do. This is for HSI. Now, other federal agencies are pretty similar, so I'm giving you the general gist of it for HSI because that's what I know the best. So it's a writing sample that you would have to do, and it's about 25 minutes long. The writing sample is checking your grammar and your spelling abilities. The one thing I will tell you, if you make it to this point, do not do any copy and pasting. Even if you're doing it from your own, like paragraph, and you're just trying to get things done quickly, don't do that, because it's thinking that you're taking it from somewhere else and trying to cut and copy from, I don't know, Google or somewhere else. So never cut and copy, because you could fail the written test from that point. All right, so phase 1, you make it through phase 1. And now you're on to phase 2. The phase 2 is the written test. It's the in-person portion of it. The in-person is, there's no math on it now. This is more of a critical thinking test. It's a little more difficult. It's about 3 hours long, give or take. Usually they would have a location close to where you live for you to go and take that test. They would probably set you up the best they could for somewhere within like an hour of where you live. Okay? If you make it through phase 2, that's when the interview would happen for the special agent position. Once the interview is done, if you've made it through the interview, that's when you would get a temporary selection letter. The temporary selection letter would come to you, and it would be conditional upon you passing the drug test and the PFT. Does everybody know what a PFT is? No? Yes? Maybe? Okay. I'll explain what a PFT is. So the PFT, and a potential poly, not everybody gets a poly, but it could happen. Some agencies, everybody does go through a poly, but with HSI, it's kind of luck of the draw. So the PFT, you're given a PFT to become hired, but you're also given it at the academy as well, both when you get down there and once you graduate. So it happens multiple times to keep the job. So everything's conditional upon the PFT. Guys, if you're interested in a federal agent position, you should be training for this PFT now. It's the best advice I could give you. It's the advice that was given to me when I was an intern. And it's the only reason that I received the job so short after graduation. So if it is something that is near and dear to your heart and it's something that you want to do, I would say look at the agencies that mean the most to you, that it's something you want to do with your life, look at what their PFT requirements are, and just start preparing for it now. It's the best thing that you can do. The PFTs for HSI, does anybody want to hear them? Hands? Show me a little? Okay, great. So, the PFTs are 32 sit-ups in a minute. The best way to train for this is when that minute starts. If you get 32, don't stop. Keep going. You're doing sit-ups for that full minute, but your goal is 32. You're going to do 32 sit-ups. You're going to take a 5-minute break. When that 5-minute break is over, you're going to do a 220-yard sprint, and you're going to do it in 47 seconds. Okay? It's not that difficult. You can all do it. You're young, you're fit, you're ready to go. Okay? When you're done that, you're going to take a 5-minute break. You're going to cool off, and you're going to do your push-ups. You're going to do 22 push-ups in a minute. You're going to do great form, but when that minute stops, you're not going to stop doing push-ups even if you did 22. You're going to keep going, and you're going to see how many you get. Okay? You're going to take a break. You're going to take 5 minutes. You're going to cool down. And then you're going to do your 1.5-mile run. And you're going to do that 1.5-mile run in 14 minutes, 25 seconds or less. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. And when you're preparing for this, you're going to look outside and you're going to say, it's 85 degrees, I'm not going to do this today, it's too hot. No, you're not. You're going to go out and you're going to do it. Because you don't know what the weather's going to be like the day you get tested. When it's raining, go out and do it. It's a little chilly, go out and do it. You're going to be great. Everything's going to be fine. Just prepare for it. And you have my contact information up there. Please use it. If you have questions, if you really are just curious about what's a better way to do this, who else can I talk to, or I have a question about another agency, I have a lot of friends. They could answer these questions for you. I don't mind. I don't mind the emails. Please reach out to me if you have any more of these. I hope you have questions brewing, because I would love to talk with all of you, not at all of you. So, that's all I have for now. I'm going to open it up.
All right, questions for any of our panelists? Unless, John, you want to go at...
Yeah, I was going to talk about getting into law enforcement.
And then we'll open it up.
Yeah, perfect. I just want to kind of move you along because we're getting close to time and I want to make sure that we get questions in. So, yeah.
I'll keep it short. In Florida, law enforcement, you have to take a written test, you have to take a psychological polygraph, physical test, and you have to be fingerprinted. So all these things are part of the entry-level process. And of course, the first day of the academy, you have to run the 1.5 mile, and pretty much everything they do in the federal, you're going to do in the state, or the different departments. We have a 19-week, the difference is, like in Florida, the academies, you don't live in the academy. I think in the federal academy, you live there. How many weeks is yours?
It's 6 months total, broken up 3 and 3.
6 months. Ours is 19 weeks, so it's about 3-4 months.
Yeah.
And then you're done. And then you're certified and you can go and work anywhere. In Florida, the academy certifies you in 26 different states, including Alaska. So if you want to go to the academy in Florida, you can then go and work in Alaska. And we had a student do that, so that's how I do it. Myself, after I retired, I moved up to the great state of West Virginia. And I had to do an additional 3 weeks of training. And their academy, they have one academy for the state, and it's a living. You live there. And the difference is when you live there, they have you for 24 hours a day. So they don't mind waking you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, let's start now. But in Florida, you get to go home at night, and it's 40 hours a week. We do ours 10-hour days, 4 days a week. So you get 3 days off. And you're supposed to study on the weekends.
And
Yes, in West Virginia became chief of police, was chief of police for 3 years in West Virginia, regional West Virginia. Anybody from regional? So small area. But yeah, I'm back in Florida now. I'm the head of the academy. If you want to do local law enforcement, if the federals, the advantage of local law enforcement is a little faster, the backgrounds takes a little longer to get processed. But if you're waiting and you want to do something, come see us. We'll get you in the academy. And our academy doesn't require we're a small town, so we don't require the polygraph or the psychological. So we can get you in the academy. If you want to go to the academy, come see me. We have one starting in June, and I'll get you in. I can't promise you'll graduate. It's up to you, but I'll get you in.
Okay. They want me to stand up. Should I stand up? No, I already am standing up. Okay. So I have a couple of tips. Justin Campbell. Maybe some of you don't know who that is, but he was my student. He was very big in our chapter, Omega Tau. He shadowed me. He was my assistant for many semesters, and he did a lot of internships. He did a lot of field experiences with me, going to the jail, going to the court, blah, blah, blah. We have a show at NSU. It's called Investigation with Dr. T. Did you ever see those emails that headquarters sends out? Be on the lookout for those, because, yeah, it's a podcast, and I do a weekly show, and I bring on various law enforcement and other criminal justice agencies, and also other human service agencies. But anyway, the reason I'm telling you about Justin is because 2 years ago, we scholarshiped him to come to the conference, and he was a big participant in this. I'm here to tell you that he just graduated from the Secret Service Academy, all right? So he's a Secret Service agent, and the reason that he is, and the reason that he's hired, not only because of who he is as an individual, that he was able to pass the polygraph, right? Because you can't train for that. You can't train how to be a liar. I guess you really can, but he was what I would call a cream puff. In police hiring, a cream puff is a candidate that is so squared away and so perfect. The reason that he got hired is because of all the field experiences and internships and things that he did in the field. It wasn't just classroom stuff. And make sure that you get with somebody. You certainly can reach out to me anytime. Just ask Adriana, she'll get you in touch with me, and I'll help you with your resume. Because what a lot of my students do is they just put their education. They get, BS and CJ, and that's it. And that's all they put. And they put their store clerk stuff and anything else that they've done as part-time work. We got to jazz it up. You got to jazz it up. And the way to jazz up that resume and get you hired before all of the others that are competing with you, why should that agency hire you? Because they're looking at this resume and they're seeing that you did the crime scene in person at NSU, right? You did crime scene all day, you did the immersive experiences. There's another one that's coming up, that's March 21st. It's an online, it's called Crime Scene X, and it's by Dr. Sharon Plotkin. It's free, you can sign up if you're interested, ask me. Bottom line is, you gotta get lines on your resume that separate you from the pack. And make sure you watch your social media accounts as well. Be careful with that. That can come back and haunt you.
Share a couple things. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I won't go over the process necessarily in specificity for New Hampshire State Police. Please reach out to me, and Dr. T or panelists can let you know how to get in touch with me. I'll be more than happy to do that. I think one of the things I just want to cap off is, let's say you get to that process and you get the opportunity to go for your oral board, right? Which is basically your job interview. Do yourself a favor, set yourself apart, jazz up the resume. That got you to the oral board. And you got to remember, you're going to take those nuances that you share in your resume and make them real, bring them to life. Bring them in front of that group that you're meeting with. You gotta define why you're different and why they can't now work and proceed as an agency without you, right? That's what you're doing, you're selling yourself. Make sure you do the research, know your agency, know their mission statement. I sat on a bunch of oral boards throughout my career. I was honored and lucky to do that, and nothing would upset me more than if an individual came in and they'd done a lot of things that were really worthy of being a state trooper, but they didn't know anything about what we were about. They didn't know our core mission. They couldn't recite it. That's a turnoff for us. It should be for you. If you're looking for somebody, you want to know why they want to be with what you would say is the best, right? You're the best. Train to be the best. Know your why, which just comes back to jazzing up your resume. Know your why, how you differentiate yourself. What those lived experiences might have been, that you can see things that others that might be competing with that role, they won't see, because you've seen it, you've lived it, you know it. You have firsthand experience of people in your family that have had struggles. You can bring that to the plate in a real professional way, and it can set you apart. The other couple of things that I'd say when you're going for that job interview, that oral board, don't be like this guy. This guy was a moron. I was a new dad. I didn't plan for the train going by, so I had to pick up some more time, and I ended up getting stopped for speeding to my oral board, and I got a ticket. That was kind of embarrassing, but I shared it. It was kind of a little bridging moment, but not the greatest thing, right? And then just, if you get to the academy life, and you get into the academy, find your person. There's going to be a couple people in there that have more experience maybe out of the military, and they're going to actually, if you let them mentor you, like you've had mentors in your life up to now, they'll actually get you on a fast track to then be really successful in that new moment of life. And why recreate mistakes when you can learn from the best? Thank you.
All right, thank you, panelists, very much. We are looking for some questions. While I'm getting to the group here, real quickly, can one of you just address a little bit more about decision-making in your 20s and what you need to be thinking about as you're thinking about a job at either the federal system, the state, Miami-Dade, New York, City PD, New Hampshire, a little bit about decision-making and how important that is.
The one thing I can say, I'll bring up social media for decision making. Going into this career, everything you're doing now plays a part. And keep in mind that what you're doing on social media is memorialized. It will not go away. That is something that did not happen when I was in your shoes. So you're about to go into a career that you're taking an oath for. And that means a lot. It's something that you should take a lot of value in. So your social media is not something that you can just brush off and put in the past. It reflects who you are as a person. It reflects everything that you stand for. So it's something that you should be thinking about now and making the right decisions on. It's the best advice I can give. It doesn't mean that you're not who you are as a person, but I would be very careful and use proper judgment and protect yourself through social media.
So just a couple of tips that I would recommend, and just piggyback on the social media piece. So it's like, okay, what does that mean? Well, be careful with, risque kind of like selfies and this and that, and political statements, anything that you think can come back and haunt you. In fact, if you're really interested in federal law enforcement or local law enforcement, my recommendation is get off social media altogether. Don't even have an account. And I see some of your faces are sad and upset because, what you got to do is you got to read this book, The Anxious Generation, and he talks about the addiction that we have to social media. So we got to be careful with that. That's one. The other thing is, hey, edibles. Edibles, man. know, like grandmothers do it, and you know, little kids are doing it, and whatever. But that's gonna show up. That's gonna definitely show up, and you wanna be careful of that. You're like, well, wait a second, I can just get it in a smoke shop, and it's got, you know, a little bit of THC, but it's really hemp, and this and that, and whatever. You gotta be really careful. I mean, back in the day, we used to be careful about poppy seed bagels. So you just really wanna watch that. You know, keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on the prize, which is your dream come true, right? So that means you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. That would be, you know, my suggestion. Anything else, Chris, you want to say?
Let's hold your applause until the end, so we can keep.
Hi, my name is Amanda Allen, and I am a sociology social work major, so my question is, what career opportunities exist in federal law enforcement for someone with that background?
I'm looking right back at Michelle for this one. I think the VAST program would be huge for you. She's our victim assistance specialist. Also the FI, the forensic interviewer spot, would be something that you could look into as well.
And I think even with the bachelor's degree, right? Like, I wasn't too old to make these things, but like you, a lot of them.
Absolutely.
They're still being ages.
You're going straight for your master's. The bachelor's degree, you can be a special agent with a bachelor's degree. I only have a bachelor's degree. Absolutely. And there are agents that don't even have a bachelor's degree. Yes, there are ways around that as well. They have prior law enforcement experience. They have military experience. And even coming into this field, we accept any degrees as well. Like, we have agents that were biology majors. We need everybody. Our investigations are so vast and broad. The experience you're bringing in matters to us for every investigation. So it varies. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Victoria. My question was kind of bounced off the educational aspect of it. In pursuing higher education, more like a second degree, like a master's degree, or even going further than that, what is the significance when it comes to being a candidate either on the federal or state level for those type of law enforcement agencies?
So I can answer for the federal level. I don't want to discourage you from going for your master's, because it shouldn't discourage you. But I always intended to go back for mine. However, I didn't need to because I already had my position as an agent, and it doesn't have any impact on promotion or pay or anything once you're already an agent. It would benefit me after my career. I'd love to go teach after my career. But I already have universities saying, oh, wait, for me not having a master's. So for me, I'm in a great predicament, right? I don't need it at this point. But I don't want to discourage anybody because I do kind of wish I did go get it. I would have gone back to Temple University, but if you do have it, you could be brought on as a GS9. And there are other people that were brought on faster as an agent with it. So it really depends. And coming on now, I didn't have the opportunity to get my master's within 1 year. It's very different now than it was 20-some years ago. I don't want to age myself, but it's very different now. Not working good.
Hello, my name is Faith, and I wanted to see, I have a few questions because I do plan to join the police force after I graduate, but I also have plans to become a detective, a homicide detective, but I wanted to see if there's anything different that I have to look for.
In the department I work for, Miami-Dade, they have a homicide bureau, and to get there, you have to do 1 year of road patrol first. And after that, you can put in for any position you want to. Detective is not a promotion in Miami-Dade. In other departments it is, but they look for the best qualified. So if you have a degree, that will help you. In my particular situation, I became detective after 2 years. and that's pretty common if you have a college degree. It's not required to become a law enforcement officer to have a degree, but it helps you get into other positions once you're already in, and helps you get promoted. So that's the advantage of having a college degree.
Hi, my name is also Victoria. I got a question regarding like physical fitness. So right now I'm a boxer, and in 2 weeks I'm going to head down to Las Vegas and fight in a national championship. I'm wondering like whether or not like that's probably like good preparation for PFTs, or would weight training, or what kind of training would be best for PFT?
You want to take that? I think that's excellent training, and you'll find the academy as a piece of cake if you're in that kind of shape that you can box on a national level. You're going to walk right through there'll be nothing that will bother you, I'm sure. But as far as defensive tactics, if you're not in that kind of shape, yeah, it may take you out of your comfort zone. And that's what they will do in the academy. No matter how good a shape you're in, they're still going to try to take you out of your comfort zone.
I have to plug education. I'm sorry. I respect everything that's been said, but I have to tell you that my experience is that a master's degree in criminal justice from one of the best colleges, John Jay College of Criminal Justice, bragging a little bit, just a little bit, separated me. It separated me from the pack. Okay, so I became a lieutenant through promotional exam, but my assignments, working side by side with the police commissioner, getting the position of being the commanding officer of behavioral science at the New York City Police Academy, that was because I had a master's degree and was going for my PhD. By the way, NSU has a master's degree in criminal justice and a PhD in criminal justice, and I want you to visit the exhibit hall, because that's where they are, and they can give you some good, cool shark swag.
He'll be here tomorrow. He's gonna be here tomorrow.
Excellent, excellent.
Hello, my name is Aisha Palmer, and my question for you is, well, since you had already mentioned PhD, I wanted to know if you already had a position within federal or anything, does that help you pay for your master's or your PhD if you're going for either or?
When I started with my department, I had a bachelor's degree, and our academy was at Miami-Dade College, so we got additional college credits for attending the police academy there. But my department paid 50% tuition reimbursement, so yes, they do help, and some departments pay 100%. So most departments promote education, and it helps you work up in your career. So it's a very good thing to get as much education as you can.
All right, and we have time for 3 very quick questions and 3 quick answers. And if any of the panelists can stick around for a little bit after the session for some individual questions, that would be greatly appreciated. We have a lot of questions and a little bit of time. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Madeline. I was maybe thinking about joining the Air Force once I graduate, and I was just wondering how military experience might influence chances of getting a job federally in the FBI or any other federal agencies.
It really doesn't have a negative effect. We have plenty of agents that are also in the military, and they have to leave for the military time, so there's no negative effect. It helps greatly for your pension, so I wouldn't steer away from that.
Hi, my name is Desiree. My question is, what steps would somebody have to take to become like a forensic scientist within the law enforcement field?
Again, in the department I worked for, originally you had to do 1 year patrol work first. You had to go through the police academy and then. Now, today's world is different. Now they do hire civilian employees, but they're looking for people with degrees in like biology or forensics and those types of things. And yes, you can get hired as a civilian to work in the crime lab. The big departments have those, but the smaller ones don't. They rely on the state police for that. So you can do that now, but most of them want you to do have at least a little bit of police experience.
Hi, my name is Riley, and I was just curious would get to law enforcement after getting a degree? Because I do know that there's a lot of research that says a lot of people's quality of being in the job after having a degree and making the same as somebody who doesn't have a college education. How does that work for you guys who do have an education and ended up going into law enforcement?
Yeah, I got my bachelor's degree before I entered law enforcement, and I think it helped me tremendously. A lot of things, you know, you can get hired in Florida at 19 as a law enforcement officer, but I can tell you at 19 I wasn't mature enough to do that kind of work. So I think you need time to mature, and I think education is one of the best ways to do that. The only other thing I would recommend is the military, because some people choose the military to get their discipline. It teaches you a lot about discipline, so that would prepare you also. So discipline and maturity, I think, goes a long way in this type of job.
I have to second that. I couldn't agree more. And one of my closest, bestest friends, we call each other bestest for a reason. He's actually a professor at Temple now, but he got his doctorate from John Jay, and we banter about education all the time, which in a positive way, which cracks me up at the comment that you just made. I can't wait to tell him. Yes, education is the most important thing. It really, truly is. So.
And like
Okay, we got one last question. Oh, excuse me.
No, I was
Yes.
just gonna say, in the NYPD, if you have 2 years military or 2 years college, that's the requirement. Right now, that's the standard. So you have either 2 years of college to get hired as a police officer, or 2 years military. And then once you get hired, this is for, local NYPD example. Once you get hired, now you want to maneuver. Now you want special details. You want special assignments. You want high-profile assignments. And what separates you again from the pack is your education and your background, 100%.
All right, one last question.
Hi, my name is Sam Server. My question is regarding the federal hiring process, specifically for HSI, but really any of the federal agencies. Is it normal for applicants to go several months without hearing anything after applying on USA Jobs? Or what does that process look like? When might they expect to hear communications? And what if they don't? How can they follow up?
Yes, it's very normal, and it ebbs and flows. It's different all the time. Right now, we are hiring a lot, so they're backlogged, but we've also experienced 2, 3 shutdowns right now. So that kind of has a large impact on slowing things down. I'd love to tell you who to check in with, but there's no great way to check in, unfortunately. So you do have to wait to be contacted. What I will tell you is once you do the application process, check your spam email folder, because that's happening to a lot of people, not just for our agency, with every agency. I don't know why. I'd love to answer that question. All I can say is it's the government. But you really do. You want to be checking all of your spam folders as well constantly. It does happen. So.
All right, can we give it, John.
I just had to make a comment. That's where local law enforcement comes in. They can get you hired in a couple of months, so think about that in the meantime while you're waiting for the federal jobs.
All right, Dr. McLaughlin got that one in, that's right. Okay, thank you. Big round of applause for all of our panelists. Thanks, everybody. That was super helpful. And it sounds like maybe some of them will be able to stay here for a little bit. If you do have some individual questions, that would be awesome. We're going to move into our attendance scholarships right now. And just to alert you that the criminal justice knowledge test will be happening in this room, noon time, 11:30. 11:30. So we're going to do some attendance scholarships, give you a little bit of a break. We're going to reset the room 11:30 for the general knowledge test with Dr. Wilkins, who's in the back getting ready with